First, thank you,
Okay.
dude, for giving me the time to answer a few questions. So the
Yeah.
first question is, tell me a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up? Where are you now?
I've grown up in Viseu, in the center of Portugal, and right now live in Porto, in the north of Portugal, by the sea. So far, I've lived in different countries. I've lived in Portugal, of course, Germany for just a couple of months. I've been to Denmark, and I stayed there in Copenhagen for half a year. And I lived in Paris, in France. I know I was there for almost 2 years.
Hmm.
So yeah, then I returned to Porto again, and right now I'm settled down.
What is your formal design training?
I graduated in industrial design, so my background is really industrial design. Even though previous to that, I was actually studying to become a doctor, a physician. So even so, my previous background in high school was, instead of going to arts or something like that, it was always in sciences and biology and chemistry. So that's kind of a weird thing to pursue after. So I am an industrial designer by trade, even though right now I work as an interior designer. And of course, Locusto is something more on the graphic design side. I cannot consider myself a graphic designer because I'm not. I don't have the formation to call myself a graphic designer, and I've got a lot of deficiencies regarding some of the stuff I need to work, but that I don't have at all. I don't know how to make them at all.
Yeah, yeah, man. I don't know if I don't know if nowadays you need like a formal training to be a designer. I think if you have enough talent and you've been doing it, that's all it takes.
I agree. I agree with you. But there's some stuff that you really need to learn at school, or at least with someone that's why I believe the internships in design offices are so important, because some things you have to learn them. You really have to learn them. It's some stuff that you cannot learn by yourself. And in the graphic design part of my life, again, a lot so I have a lot of deficiencies because I really don't know some of that stuff, and that's a problem because I've got a lot of ideas, a lot of things I want to make, but I just don't know how to make them. Either is software or actual knowledge of the 3D aspect of the design. I've got some issues in there, and
Uh,
it's a problem.
I got
Uh,
you. I agree. I think if you have training like that, it can definitely help.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
so how did you get into graphic design for helmets?
Right. Graphic design since college was always my Achilles heel. I mean, I always sucked. I can understand what's a good or a bad graphic design. I can point out very good graphic designers and very good graphic design. Yet I suck at it. I really suck at graphic design.
So wait, would you
The
say
thing with
would you say that it's just instinct when you look at something, it just feels right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can totally understand what is good and what is bad. That's for sure. Yet, I cannot, if you say, copy this guy's work in a way like inspire yourself in this guy's work, I cannot do it. Even though if I try a lot, I really cannot do it. I think it's something that it's not something you learn. I think it's something that you either born with it, you're born with that idea, with that concept of graphic design, not the graphic design, but the instinct, like you said, or you just don't have it at all. And even though I can understand what is good or is bad, I don't have the graphic design part of let me make something this good as this guy makes it. I cannot do it, unfortunately. But the thing with the Locusto was when I started this out in 2016, it was somewhere in the end of my first year as my own office owner. So I opened my own office, interior design office, in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's something completely new for me because my contacts were not in Portugal, we were all outside. Work, the amount of work I had at the moment wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough. So I got very bored. I had a lot of free time, unfortunately. So I got bored. And usually, what I did at the time uh, to make that boredom go away was ride my bicycle, my motorcycle. And
Mm-hmm.
that time I wanted to buy a new helmet, and I went to a bunch of stores and I browsed every single one of them, and I couldn't find a single helmet that I liked. I mean, I've seen all the brands like Showa Yarai, HEV, all those brands, and all the designs were quite terrible. That's the word. I wouldn't say terrible, but it's not nothing of what I have seen was good enough for, or at least was nice enough for me to buy. I'm only talking on the graphical side because
Yeah.
as a product, as an industrial design product, we've got a lot of choices of excellent choices, and pretty much right now all the brands have really good choices.
Yeah.
But as a graphical point of view, I mean, everything was just so much. I mean, it's overkill on the designs because you either have like the MotoGP
Yeah.
replicas, which are 99.9% terrible, horrible. I mean, disgusting. You know what I mean, like
Yep.
with the Rossi replicas or the stuff, or you got stuff from Shoei or Arai, which is something very from the 1980s, 1920s, 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with those tribal patterns. I mean, it's not something I fancy. And back in 2015 exactly, the only good helmets around were the Hobby from Atelier Hobby from the Paris guys. But those guys went bankrupt, so there were no more options. The original owner, that was Jerome Cost, is not the owner anymore because they went bankrupt. And now
Okay.
who owns that thing is a guy from China. It's a weird situation, and actually I don't understand it myself. But it's not French anymore. That's a Chinese thing. So I don't know if they're the same helmet, same quality. I have really no idea.
I got you.
But at the time, those were the only. I went to a bunch of stores. I started browsing around. I didn't find anything I'd like. So I started like designing myself at home, like for fun, like trying to show people that it's not very difficult to design something that looks appealing. So I did some designs and then put online on Instagram. It doesn't need to be super complicated. You just have to look good and choose the right colors and be simple enough for people really want to use them. And when I started to do some of those designs, I put it on Instagram, and that took off really quick. I mean, I think it was the first person to actually share my work. I think it was Sideburn magazine, and from that on, it was really a boom. It grew up really fast. Even though it was not the idea like to grow up, it's not my thing is not to have like 1 million followers, but it really grew up
But it happened.
exponentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And backtracking a little bit. So how did you get into motorcycles?
I started riding cycles very late in life. I think I was around 26. Yeah, 26 years old. So it wasn't long ago. But even though all my background regarding motorcycles, regarding cars and motorcycles libraries, goes back to my kid years when I was a kid, because my brother was a fanatical for rally and for F1 and for motorcycles. He had a bike even when he was a kid. So I think everything came from there.
Uh-huh.
Even though my interest just surged in like when I was 25, 26 years old, which was really late.
What bikes have you had, and what's your favorite?
Oh man, my favorite bike ever is easy to pinpoint. It's the Ducati MH900E. I think it's my favorite bike ever.
Uh-huh.
Probably my second best favorite bike is the Ducati 750 from the 70s. And I think those two are pretty much my favorites ever. The bikes I had so far, I had the Moto Guzzi V7. I had the Ducati Monster 821. I had my first bike was a Triumph Street Triple.
Uh-huh.
And my last bike was a BMW, the GSA Adventure. Even though it was a really nice bike, I hated the bike. I mean, I really hated the bike because everything was so under control. You know, everything, whatever you do, the bike corrected you. And I sold that bike because of that. It was too perfect. I mean, the joy of riding a motorcycle, I think it went away a little bit with that motorcycle.
Uh-huh.
So right now I'm bikeless, yet I'm about to buy a new bike soon. And when I mean soon, it's like this month or the next month, because I miss it.
Do you know what you're going to get?
I think it will be something between the Ducati Monster, again, stupid, but probably again because that motorcycle roasted me, or something like a Triumph, the Scrambler, or even the Ducati Scrambler. I think it will be something between those three, because I just ride in the city. So I need something that doesn't roast me. I need something nimble enough for me to go between the cars.
What influences you from a design perspective, from a graphic design perspective? Do you have any like favorite artists or a period in time or whatever.
I have influences, and I have favorite artists, of course. But those influences and those favorite artists are not directly connected to the graphic design world. For instance, like I told you, my school in high school, my classes were biology and chemistry classes. So everything, most of my inspiration is in nature. You see, it's like if you pick up a biology book, you open up, you just see nature colors and textures everywhere. A single book is good enough for you to make thousands of helmets or whatever, because the inspiration there is endless. So instead of me reading or watching graphic design books, I have a lot of science and biology books. I mean, I have really lots of things, and in actual medical books, and that's kind of stuff that really inspires me. And then of course it's the life inspires me in the way that when I was a kid, the stuff that my brother showed me in cars, in Formula One, all that stuff inspires me a lot. Music, I mean, I listen to a lot of jazz, and I try to bring a lot of that nature of the improvisation of music to my designs. For instance, Miles Davis, Bill Evans, Sakamoto, and even Brazilian music like Tom Jobim. It's something that I've listened to a lot and I keep listening to, and I try to bring a little bit of that as well. Not in a way that, look, I want to put something of this in here. It's something that just pops up, you know.
Yeah.
And then of course I've got my inspirations in art. I mean, Basquiat, Rothko, Modigliani, Picasso, and all the stuff that I learned throughout college and in my work in Paris. And that's pretty much 20th century designers, from furniture and interior designers. It's stupid, but they influence, names like Charles Perrien or Frank Walbini or Jean Prouvé or Jean Royer. All that stuff, even though it's not directly connected to graphic design, they inspire me because they are in here, they're part of me right now. So in a way or another, I get some clues from there. But as a graphic designer, if I follow anyone, if I see anybody's work, I must say no. I never follow anybody.
I've seen that you've designed like other things beyond helmet, like you've done motorcycles and cars and even like jerseys, right?
Yeah.
Motor jerseys and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you have like when you have to design something, do you have what's the process that you usually go through?
As a designer by trade, I have to follow a process to create something. I do it all the time in my interior design and industrial design work because we're trying to do that. But the approach I give to helmets, I don't do it that way. I just try things. I mean, I don't have an actual process. Sometimes I dream something, or sometimes I think of something. Like, for instance, I see a color I like, or I see like a shape I like, and I go, let me try this shape in a helmet. Okay, let me try now this shape in a different color and try to mix stuff around. It's I don't approach it in a great. That's why I'm saying I'm not a graphic designer. I approach it in this thing as more as an art thing, as an art exercise. So I mix stuff, I mix colors, I mix shapes, I mix textures. If they work, perfect. I continue to do the design. If they don't work, I just send it to trash. And I can tell that like 70 to 80% of my designs go to the trash. Most of the stuff I do just goes to the trash because I don't really have a process. It's almost like a matter of trial and error. If it works, perfect. If not, let's try a new idea. And that's pretty much how I approach it. It's something very random.
Yeah.
And it's something that really depends on my mood.
Sure.
For instance, if I have something to say, and when I say is to share regarding creativity, I can make like 50 elements in a day. Yet, at the same time, I've stayed like 4 months in a row without making a single element. It's more a question of moods or what do I feel, or if I feel I have something to say. Otherwise, this doesn't work.
Right.
And that's why it's also a reason why there are so few elements of mine on my own available. Because most of the brands want me to follow specific guidelines, because they're used to it, like guidelines and timelines and design briefings, and I don't work like that. So that's the reason why there are so few Cousteau helmets around.
Right. Well, that was going to be my next question for you, because I know
Yeah.
you've done work, you've worked with brands, and it sounds like you're pretty selective on the brands that you work with and how and when, correct? Because
Right.
like you said,
Yeah.
they kind of force you into a process or timeline, right?
Yeah. for sure. Most brands, they just give you in the start of their design year, design briefings, and they want you to follow their specific colors or inspirations or whatever. But if you keep doing the stuff they want, you'll not make anything new. You'll make the stuff that already exists. You'll make the stuff that everybody's doing. So that's a problem, and that's the way I don't like to work, and that's the way I will not work. Because if I'm being forced to make what everybody else is doing, I'm not doing anything new. So I'm not necessary at all. So that's a problem, and that's the reason why most of the helmets around are all the same. Because everybody is doing the same. Because brands want you to do the same. So it's like in Portugal you have a saying like "pescadinha de rabo da boca." That means like when you have a fish eating its own tail. It doesn't stop. So I think a lot of changes must come from the brands themselves,
Yeah.
not so much from designers, because there are a lot of good designers around, really really good designers, but they're being forced to design what the brands want. And for me, I can say no because I don't depend on this to live. I mean, for me, Locusto is like my side. It's not even a side job. It's like almost like a hobby. So I can say brands. I said no, I don't want to work for you because I don't believe in the way you work. But most designers cannot do it. So that's unfortunate.
Right. And I think, man, that just made me think. I think that that's awesome that you can do that, because I
Yeah.
think that's the hard part about being a graphic designer. And when I say graphic designer, or when you work in, for brands,
Mhm.
because then you have to follow a process, right? You're not really designing for yourself as you would when it's art and you're
Exactly.
expressing yourself. You are kind of under contract, I guess, to
Yeah, exactly.
design
It's a
for the
problem. You
brand.
have to dance to their music. You cannot dance to your music. And even when in some brands, I'm not saying in all the brands, but even in some brands, you get along and you move your own design forward. There's always this one guy inside the brand that says, "Let's change this or that," and that's really shitty because you spend like months working with them on something really cool, and in the end, there's only that one guy that will say, nah, I don't want it. So
Yeah,
it's shitty.
yeah.
I understand the other designers, they have to to pay their bills. Okay, I get it.
Are there any brands out there that you think are trying to go in the right direction, or pushing it
Oh
either?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure.
Go
Their
ahead.
brands are they have really really good stuff already, and the others that are opening up. For instance, AGV some years ago, it was only Rudy shit. I mean, you cannot get anything like except on Rudy. Right now, they have other designers. Then you've got brands like Bell and HEC. They have really 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 nice stuff. That changed a lot in the last few years, and you can clearly see they're improving not only the graphic designs but also the helmet shapes. But then on the other side of the of the bridge, you've got mostly the Japanese brands. I mean, when I say the Japanese, I mean Arai and Shoei, and they are probably the two of the best brands ever, and they continue to be two of the best brands ever. But their graphic designs are completely stuck in the 80s and 90s, and it's terrible because people complain about it. But on the same time, they keep selling elements. So what can I say? They make money out of it, so they don't change. But at least they could open up a little bit for people to have at least a little bit of choice, inside the tribal things and the crazy patterns and the ugly replicas. They could at least have one or two helmets that look good, but I don't know. I think the Southern Koreans and the Americans and some Europeans like AGV or even Nolan, they're trying to open up a little bit. So that's a good thing.
Would you say that you have a specific style? How would you describe it?
I mean, everybody, most of the guys that follow me, they clearly know when Elmo is designed for me or not. I know my style is very easily identifiable. I mean, if you see Kuso helmet, you know it was done by me. But what the name to call that style, I have really no idea. I have no idea how to call it or how to include in a description. But I know I have a specific style, but I have no idea. One thing is certain: I'm not a racing livery guy. You know, it's not my style. I try to put things more organic. Uh, and if you see my helmets closely, most of them have like little errors in the graphics, and all of that is on purpose because I try to make my, like I said, like in music, like in the bossa nova music, for instance, everything is more organic, is more connected to nature, and I think my difference is in there. I think it's more organic. I think it's, maybe you can call that organic.
Yeah, the beauty is in the imperfections. Some of it.
In the imperfection, exactly, exactly.
Right on.
Everything that gets very perfect, very, it. If you don't got the soul, it's like was made like by a computer. And I don't want things people to buy something that was made by a computer. People want to buy things that were made by a human, you know, with feelings, with a mood. So
Right.
that's why all my designs, I mean, all my designs have imperfections on purpose. Okay.
Right. Right.
Not using perfections, but something very small is always there on purpose.
Yeah. One of your last posts on Instagram was starting to start a discussion about
Right.
pushing brands to provide more options and
Yeah.
infuse more creativity into their designs. Right. You want to talk a little bit
Right.
about
Yeah.
that? Just last one.
I mean, that post was crazy because I've got, I think it was around 300 replies in that post, but I've got a lot, probably a lot more by private messages. And I've got a lot of messages from actual designers, helmet designers that work for those big brands. And it's pretty much the same thing, like I told you. They want to try new stuff, but brands don't allow them to try new stuff because they force the designers to follow their guidelines. So it's like they want to, but they cannot do it. On the same time, you've got the old school guys that came to the discussion, and I was flagged by them because they felt attacked because their work is either rubbish or whatever. And the thing is, you've got like half of the industry trying to make something new and something different. Then you got the other half, and I mean the other half is the old guys, you know, and that keep painting helmets for like 20 or 30 years or whatever. They don't want to change because they cannot change, and because they have no idea how to change. So that's the problem in in this field.
Right.
Not only in the brand themselves, but also in the designers, because the old guys, like guys with 50 and 60, they don't change anymore. They cannot change. They've been doing the same thing over and over again. So that's like going to the beach and having the waves coming from the right and from the left at the same time. It's a problem.
Right.
But I think that discussion, even though it's quite biased because it was on my page, show that everybody, or at least a big chunk of the industry, of the guys that buy helmets, wants something different. People are tired of the travel patterns. People are tired of the Rossi things everywhere. People want change. They want the helmets, but they want different graphics.
Right on.
So I think helmet brands should open their eyes and at least try to make something different. I don't say hire me or whatever. I'm saying open a little bit, you know, open their minds a little bit. I think that's what's lacking in the industry right now.
What helmet are you gonna get now that you're gonna get a new bike?
Oh, that's easy. One of my no. There are, like I said, there are helmets around that are really good. And right now, for the actual use I'm going to give it to just mainly city use, I'm going to get something from NJC or Bell for sure. Because even though I love the Pista from AGV, that's a racing helmet, so it's not really suited for a city bike. But probably, I mean, between those brands, AGC, AGV, I like to swap helmets a lot. So thankfully, I've got a lot of choices right now. I just hope I don't have to use white and black helmets all the time. So I hope brands, again, open their minds a little bit.
If people want to get in touch with you or want to work with you or get a helmet with you, because I think you don't do like custom, like people can't just come to you and say, hey, can you, right? So what's the best way to get, you know, to work with you or to get a helmet with your designs? Or
one of the problems I have with this is that I don't paint helmets. So if anybody wants to helmet from my hands, You either buy a mass-produced helmet, or you can buy me a graphic design, and then ask someone else to paint it. But that thing will get extremely expensive. I mean, really, really expensive. It happens. I mean, I have a lot of clients besides the brands, but the helmet can get quite expensive. So most of the helmets I've done so far were for guys with cars, because those guys spend like 5,000 euros on a blank helmet. For them, is okay, but for a guy that rides a bike, 200 is a lot. So they will not pay 2,000 more to have a custom paint job for sure. People can contact me, but there's a problem. Since I'm a one-man company, I have to do everything. So right now I have around 500 emails. So I'm extremely late on my emails. I don't have the manpower to answer everyone. And the thing is, I don't really want to ask people like pay me a bunch of money to make something custom, because helmets shouldn't be extremely expensive. People should pay a lot of money for the helmet, but not for a graphic for the helmet. That's why I want to focus alone on working for brands, because brands can pick up that design and make it in a mass-produced way to make it extremely cheap.
No, dude, thank you so much. That I'm a big fan, obviously,
No, man, thank you.
of your work, and thank you for giving me all this time. I know you're busy.
No, man, thank you.